So, as many of you know, BASC is run by a council, an elected council, and elections are currently underway. There are quite a few councillors sitting for just 2 national seats. It was laid out to the members that you get what you vote for, just post the lead and steel announcement. So, this is our chance to potentially meet some of the candidates and vote for a council that we are happier with, or it's our first chance to implement people into that council who we're happy with. We have a few interviews lined up with a few of the candidates, the first of which is with Karl Waktare. Karl Waktare is someone who is known to me and many of us through being the managing director of GMK, GMK being the importer for Beretta into the UK. I always think that BASC should run more like a business, and I think having a businessman on the council would be good. Far from it being my endorsement, and I wish no sway on this, we have half an hour of Karl Waktare for you to go and meet and learn and feel what this man is all about. Enjoy. Hello, Karl. How are you?
Good, thanks. Yeah. Coping with all this, with the shutdown and everything like that, but and looking forward to it being over. Hopefully, not in the not too distant future.
We're all feeling the end is near, isn't it? And that should be good for us all, hopefully.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself, if you will.
Okay, sure. So I'm GMK's managing director. I've
What is GMK?
Sorry, yeah. So GMK are the importer distributor for a wide variety of brands: Beretta, Benelli, Sako and Tikka, Federal Ammunition. Those are our biggest brands. And so we import them into the UK and we sell them to gun shops like yourself. And we sort of don't really deal with the public directly, although we do, provide sales office support, technical inquiries and things like that. But so our primary function is to import the products and then to distribute it and sell it to the retail network.
Sorry, now continue yourself. Sorry.
Yeah, so GMK was initially called Gunmark. It was founded in 1971 by my father and some partners. So I sort of grew up with listening to him talking shooting business on the phone, and he took me shooting at quite a young age as well. So it's always been around there, and eventually I went off and studied in Manchester for 3 years, and then went and worked in London for 4 years in ad sales for Sky TV, and then there was a vacancy in the GMK sales department, so I came and took that on. So it was always maybe likely that I would come into the business, but it was never sort of completely decided. But having worked 4 years somewhere else, I realised that actually there's a whole lot to be said for working in shooting in something that people are passionate about, and you get the opportunity to sort of go shooting sometimes and call it work. So it's a win-win, really.
So why BASC Council?
I could influence this.
Sorry, carry
on. BASC Council, yeah. So I've been involved in various things over the years. The GTA, and there was a Shooting Sports Trust, and there's Shooting Industry Fund, all various trade bodies. And I've often looked at BASC and thought, they are our most important shooting organisation by virtue of their membership. And I've always felt I've got a vested interest that shooting continues and thrives, because that's where I get my income. So I'm not particularly someone who loves being on committees. I've been on the Hampshire CPSA committee as well, and I think most people who go there, are enthusiasts and want to do well, but it can often get involved in politics and mini rivalries and things like that. So, but I just figured now was the time, with all the sort of threats from the anti-lobby. We've got lead issue, we got plastic wads, we got noise, we got all these things. And I just wanted to be a voice that could bring a different perspective to the council, really. And so I decided to go for it. Yeah.
What do you think BASC could do to better serve, or to better promote shooting sports to combat the anti-sentiment that is currently growing?
Yeah, I think BASC do a good job overall. I think they're perhaps not as good at communicating the good job that they do to members and perhaps to the gun trade as well. It's very challenging, and people, you can always do more. So I haven't, if there was a simple answer, I would have put it forward. But I think by being more involved in it, I can help to make it better, and that's the challenge. I mean, Chris Packham is someone that the BBC and the media in general are really drawn to. He's a big name, and he seems to get a platform for every time he wants to speak out against shooting. And I think we could really do with someone that we can. There's no one out there, I think, at the moment, but maybe we can nurture one or more people to put up a voice against him. I think we could do with, more, perhaps making our face look a bit younger sometimes, and less middle-aged man like myself. I'm not offering to be that spokesperson, but I think younger, educated female of sort of more neutral accent, and maybe from ethnic minorities as well. Anything that can try and get away from our stereotypical image would I think be useful.
Do you think BASC should do more social media in promotion of shooting?
I think you can always do more. I think social media is something that GMK has got more involved in. I believe you know Imogen, our social media person, and I've sort of seen the benefits of what she's done. It's social media is out there, and lots of people get their news there. So yes, you can always get smarter, and you can always do more there. And I think I think the conservation angle is our strongest card. The fact that people who shoot, do not want to wipe out wildlife, because without anything to shoot, we haven't got our sport. So it's a tricky balance, because at the end of the day, our sport does involve killing animals, but we need to focus on the conservation work and that we do, and how the benefits of shooting. And I know that's what a lot of the organisations are doing, but I think we need to find better ways of doing it, because the opposition is getting smarter, I think.
So the big one that is sort of fresh in everyone's mind is the voluntary phase out of lead shot. I would appreciate your thoughts on that.
Sure, yeah. I was asked this and asked for some comments in the Shooting Gazette this month, and I put it in there. But I think it's. I understand where BASC and the shooting organisations were coming from with it. It is. I think if lead has become classified as toxic, which seems to be the bottom line, then we have got. That does make it challenging. I mean, we can all have our personal beliefs on whether lead does you any harm or not, and I have mine, which is that I'm happy to eat game shot with lead, and in either be it.
Do you at least accept it's the potency of lead, not towards humans but towards wildlife?
I'm not clear that case is completely proven, but what I think about that, I mean, it doesn't really matter, because the fact is there are enough people saying that it is proven, and I haven't reviewed the science. So, but to me, I'm not seeing poisoned birds dying by the roadside. But look, that's by the by. It is, when the supermarkets said they don't want to have games shot by lead, I think that was quite a big move, really, because that's they're big organisations with a huge customer base, so we can't. I think so. If we accept that lead, is the days are numbered, then we have to move on to alternatives, and we can't say there aren't alternatives, because they have been around, and they're not as good as lead. I completely accept that, but maybe we have to adapt our way of doing things as well, because I think we can often be a bit paranoid in shooting circles that everyone's after us, but I'm involved in various other things, and health and safety is coming into every sport. The CRB checks on adults coaching. My sons play hockey, and they have these face masks for taking short corners, and now they have to have their own face mask. You can't share them, and all of this regulation is everywhere. So it's we can't expect that we don't have to move with the times, and I think we do, if we want to protect our sport in the long term.
Good answer. What sport is your preference? What do you do as a shooter, hunter, fisherman? What do you do with your time chosen? What would you choose to do with your time?
Okay, look, I would say probably the three main things I do are clay shooting, because clay shooting is nearly half of our business, our turnover on shotguns, and I enjoy pheasant shooting, pheasant or partridge, any sort of driven game shooting, if I get the opportunity. I mean, I don't do lots of it, and I've really taken to deer stalking over the last 4 or 5 years. I love being out there, and the physical challenge of it, and the and just being out in the countryside when I do it. I've had a go at most forms of shooting over the years, and because we cover so many areas in our business, it's important that I understand what our products are used for. And so I've shot pigeon, I've been on a goose drive up in Scotland, I've shot a kangaroo, I've hunted. I've been fortunate enough to shoot caribou in Canada as well, and so I enjoy it all. And some of them a lot of them take a lot of time, and that's the thing really, that I have a full-time job and a family as well. So if I can keep the time down, then that's what I do.
So it leads me on to one of my questions, actually, which is, what are your top 3 hunting experiences, given that you have probably been lucky enough to have a variety, as you just said?
Top 3. I would say the trip to Canada in northwestern territory to hunt the caribou was unbelievable. Were
you staying out in a tent and that kind of thing?
It was a small camp on a peninsula up by one of the lakes, and we had a 10,000 volt fence around us to keep the grizzlies out, and we sort of travelled to our hunting spots via the lake. So we were in these aluminium motorboats that we went out on in the morning, and yeah, it was just unbelievable, really. It was so remote, there was, we were there for a week, and unfortunately it was a completely dry week as well. So that was, but other than that, I mean, sorry?
Did you get one?
I did, yeah, but it was sort of, I needed help finishing it off with my guide. So I went out with my guide, and it was we sort of crept up, and then I was taking a free shot, a freestanding shot at this animal at a range that I was, not used to, but I managed to get a bullet in it, and then I said to the guy, look, I want you to finish him off, because you're more experienced at that. I had no idea it was. I was used to prone shots in with a bipod in Scotland, and so Americans hunt in a different way, and they think that they shoot at moving animals, and they do take a lot of prone shots, and they're much more experienced at it. Other memorable hunts. I mean, the chamois hunting in the Alps was incredible. It's probably the most exhausting thing I've ever done. I mean, it was climbing above 2,000 meters, and those animals they're not a big target. And I've loved hunting. I love hunting red deer in Scotland. We go to Blair Atholl, which is they do it really well there, and likewise, actually the Sako in Ireland is in the Wicklow Mountains is fantastic. They're always a very hospitable, crazy lot over there. But it's again, it's that sort of man versus nature kind of experience. I mean, I've been to some great pheasant shoots as well, but I think that is the thing maybe for me with hunting deer, that you tend to remember the one animal that you're hunting with. With birds, you have it's a very different way of shooting. You have a good experience, sociably, and it's really the shooting is challenging, but it just becomes a great day and great fun, as opposed to the actual one pinnacle of the day.
It's a very good way of putting it. You do, as you said, most of your things at the moment. Like I say, if you got into deer stalking, and for the last 5 years, that seems to have been your top choices there. And I would agree that there is something really beautiful and more memorable about the hardship of hunting a animal on hard ground, not to detract anything from the luxury of sitting on a peg and twig. What gun?
Yeah. Sorry. What?
I mean, it's probably an easy question to answer, but what guns do you shoot?
I shoot Berettas for driven game. I've got a DT10 that I still use. I should have moved on, but I've just had this gun allocated me for a while, and I'm just very comfortable with it. I love the new Sako carbon Wolf and carbon light. They're just lovely to shoot. I'm not unbiased, but and obviously put a Steiner optic on top of it. So I mean, I only use our stuff. I would be a bit silly if I didn't, really.
Indeed, well, it's convenient, isn't it? Over everything else. What do you think you can bring to the BASC Council?
As I say, I understand it. It is a council. I would be if elected. One person going in there. I have a range of opinions. What would I bring? I mean, I think I'd bring a different perspective. As I say, I am aware how the trade, perhaps feels. Perhaps aren't as warm towards BASC as they could be a little bit, and I think that is just maybe down to they could engage with the gun trade more, because I don't fundamentally think that anyone at BASC or anyone within the organisation doesn't want to do a good job. I just think sometimes you need to communicate that face to face with people a bit better. So I think I could. I think at the moment, we saw a bit of a, unfortunate exchange of statements between BASC and the cartridge manufacturers, and I can understand it from both sides. To my mind, a phone call between the two would have been more productive than emails. They take a long time, and they can be interpreted in different ways. So, I think as I say, bring a gun trade perspective, and hopefully I can facilitate a better understanding between the trade and BASC Council and maybe the employees as well.
Well, a bit of an aside, what is the Shooting Industry Fund?
The Shooting Industry Fund was set up in the late 90s, not by myself, but what had happened then was that after Dunblane happened, some lobbyists were employed to act within government and influence their decision, or to avoid too much legislation on shooting. They ended up running out of money, and so it was principally cartridge manufacturers got together to create this fund so that in the event of another shooting incident, they would never run out of money again. That's how it started, and it raised an amount of money, and GMK, contributed quite a lot over the years as well. And then it got to the point where we weren't really doing a lot, and it was agreed that we should close the fund. The money is still sitting there in the event of a rainy day, but I fervently believe that we have too many shooting organisations already, really. And I think I can sort of put myself down as a catalyst for closing two of them: the Shooting Industry Fund, as I say, and also I helped to merge this Shooting Sports Trust into the GTA. They were two trade bodies, largely doing the same job, and I felt one would be more powerful than the other. So yeah.
Are you still involved with the GTA?
GMK are members, and my brother is actually chairman of them. But me personally, I'm not involved in them. No.
Very good. Have you anything else you'd like to talk about, or any concluders?
No, I mean I've read through the other candidates for the council, and I was very impressed, actually. I could vote for several of them myself. So it's I would just, as I say, I believe that I can offer something a bit different, and I'd really like the opportunity to give it a go. And I think the shooting companies and the retail outlets, like yourselves, they do matter. We speak to a lot of, our living depends on shooting. We speak to a lot of members of the public. So I think, going back to the point, if you don't have a favourable, yourself or I can, very much make the case for BASC when we engage with the public. If we are, better informed about what they're doing, maybe, and BASC has got 155,000 members. And there are over 600, probably over 700,000 registered firearms holders out there. So there is, I would love us, to have a shooting organisation that was represented 300,000-400,000. Then I think, then MPs and newspapers start to really take notice of you. That would make us more powerful. I realise, that's not an easy job, but it would be good to set a goal to really get those numbers up.
That's a very good point. So your priority of anything is to grow to a stronger size, or that is a priority?
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm very reluctant to criticise anything because I don't know enough about what the challenge is with doing that. But maybe by forming other levels of memberships or something, it can be achieved. But but it may just be an unachievable objective. But I've often felt it would be great if you could somehow, if you could register as a sort of shooting supporter in the event that we really need to mobilise the shooting community, and really, get a few hundred, several hundred thousands, behind any sort of any point we're trying to make, and any situation where we're trying to protest, for example, about the general licenses and stuff like that. I think numbers talk in politics. I'm convinced of that.
So potentially a entry-level BASC membership.
Yeah, look.
I like
exactly.
We're all allowed to dream, Karl. I mean,
exactly. I'm very aware of making suggestions that that are naive, and but yeah, principally that's what I'm suggesting.
I don't think it's particularly naive. I think there's room for radical change. I think there's certainly a call from it from I say the younger shooters, that there does need to be some radical change to ensure some future, or to guarantee a decent future. Anything left will just lead to a death, which won't be great for me and my kids, certainly. Hey.
No, I think we have to. I'm aware that I am, not of the young generation. We all think of ourselves as younger than we are, but we need to make this, this sport appealing to your age group, and to be, show them why it's fun. I think I've rarely had the experience where you don't introduce someone to shooting and they don't enjoy it. It seems it's very easy to enjoy it, and with the Scotland trip, I've taken lots of friends, people who've never fired a gun, and it's and they just love it. It is to see the sort of look on someone's face when they shoot their first deer, and go through all of that, and then you've got a ready-made shooting ambassador from that moment on. Who will any social work occasion will defend our side, and that's almost more important, I think, than trying to win the media battle, because I think ultimately it's you can't really win it, I think.
So as you said earlier, numbers do talk, and I've often said to people when they have complained about steel being more expensive than lead in a biodegradable, I says, well, invite a friend, all of the shooting numbers will double overnight, and your costs will half, even better. But we're yeah, the world doesn't move that quickly, unfortunately, brain-wise.
No.
What would you say on the controversial naive thoughts to mandatory training for shooters?
Yeah, I understand both sides of the argument. I think we don't want to make it more difficult to get into shooting, but then again, someone who comes into shooting who isn't safe and who isn't properly trained is not good for our sport either. There are it's something I could. I've done DSC1 and I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a really educational experience,
yeah.
And it's you learn about the prey, and you learn about gun safety and everything. So I thought it was really good. I at the extreme, I mean, I've had it described to me what they have to go through in Germany, and that is an absolute nightmare. That is several weekends worth and some really crazy levels. But in principle, a 2-hour gun safety requirement would, I would see that as a positive thing. Maybe not mandatory, but something like that, I think would be I wouldn't be 100% opposed to.
What do you think is the next 5 to 10 years looks like?
Yeah, well, as we sit here in these COVID times, if you asked me this question, you asked me this question in January, it would have been easier to answer. I think the UK economy was strong, and I always say this about our business, you know, that whatever you say, if people have got money, they've got money to spend on leisure activities, and they spend it, you know, our type of people spend it on shooting generally. So I'm not, you know, certificate numbers are you know, slowly climbing, and which is good. So I'm, you know, I'm pretty optimistic. I think we have to address the, you know, the issues that can, you know, make our sport more difficult, which, you know, is noise and, you know, and access to the countryside. Shooting is the great thing for us as a business, GMK, is that if you're into shooting, it is usually your number one passion, and therefore you know what, you go to work to feed your family and to enjoy your leisure time. And if shooting is your leisure, then, you know, it'll be the last thing you give up. So you know, people, I think, will often give up a foreign holiday, not that that's likely at the moment, but before they give up shooting. So they are pretty resilient. We saw that in 2008, 2009. You know, it didn't fall off as much as certain industries did. But you know, likewise, we don't get the boom times. So yeah, I think, look, we all know the challenges facing shooting about ensuring all the pheasants are shot and eaten after they're shot. You know, the lead shot, the plastic, and noise. So I think we just have to accept that we're never going to be without challenges, and you know, let's just keep enjoying our sport and keep trying to bring new people in and keep trying to move with the times.
Final one, and this is no way linked, but is of general interest to everyone who's watching this. Is there any secret stuff? Not secret, because you won't be able to tell me. What can we look forward to from Beretta, Sako, Benelli over the next short future?
Yeah. Well, the S20 was just being launched from Sako, and we have actually got a few of those starting to drip in. So Sako were fortunate that they didn't really have a close down over the whole spring period. Now they managed to keep their distances and keep working. Benelli are bringing out some new products this autumn, which I'm not quite sure if they're out there yet, but and yeah,
Are we going to get the Benelli rifle in this country at any point? Argus?
Yes, yes, good point. So the Benelli rifle was launched in the US this year, and they plan to bring it into Europe next year. So they've done it this way around because they have it's a new production line. It's a product they're learning about how to manufacture it, and so they brought it out in the US first. UK, even producing, they're used to producing guns in usually, one caliber, 12 bore, and then eventually a few years down the line comes a 20 bore. For them, to deal with lots of different rifle calibers is a big challenge, So there's only a few calibers, and they're big calibers suited for the US that they've launched it in, and we want sound moderators on it as well in this country. So, but yes, it is due for launch here next year. In terms of Beretta, what can I tell you?
The Beretta factory shut down for a period. Is that going to affect the amount of Berettas in this country, or will they be able to catch up with themselves?
We carry large stocks of Berettas, so at the moment there's nothing there's always something we're out of, but there's nothing, but there's nothing. The major models we've got plenty of stock. They are now basically getting back to work completely this week and next, so there'll be a bit of catching up to do, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. The UK is a really important market for them, and they give us really good service with all of that. So they're already asking us to reforecast and place some orders for the autumn and everything like that.
So any secret
But-
stuff coming from them? Sorry.
They're you know, they're always refining their range, and they're looking at you know, running life cycles on products, you know, and the older stuff they replace periodically, as we've seen last year with going from the 692 to the 694. So there is a couple of those coming this autumn, and then there was a couple of quite significant design new models that I can't tell you about. But the COVID thing may have delayed them a little bit as well, because
I presume we would have seen them at EWA, and we're not anymore. Is that...
You probably wouldn't have seen them at EWA, but one was due to be launched at the French Game Fair, but that I don't think is going ahead. And as I say, you know, they had a very sudden shutdown, so you know, all of their design team went back, and these products may be put back a little bit now as well. So, but we will see when, you know, when we're back at work and they're back to fully back in operation too.
How's that for titillating secrets that we can't find anymore? Just enough to make everyone go, God, let's rake the internet and see if we can find anything. A sneak peek. An Instagram story from someone who works in the factory who something like that. Thank you very much. One last thing. Chapuis. Anything exciting from Chapuis? Seeing as that is now under your remit.
Yeah, we've sold a couple of models and put them out into the shops, and you know, they've been really well received. The delivery was a little bit late last year, so it's gone into the shops well, they went in just before we closed down. So I mean, Chapuis have a huge range already. Maybe in my opinion, it's possibly a bit big already, because you know, they do everything from 12 bore to 410s, and they do rifles, express rifles, and over and unders, straight balls. It's so we focused on our core business here, which is the over and unders, and so yeah, we'll see. I think the Beretta group have only just really got involved with them, so I think there's you know, they've got to look at how they can, you know, get more efficiencies there, and how they get new products launched more quickly, and so on.
My last question: what is your favourite Beretta ever made?
How to choose between your children? I sort of have a soft spot for the ASE, which has sort of now become the DTI. But I remember as a child when I used to play with my dad's SO, you know, the way that used to close was, you know, and still does, is a sort of piece of art, really. It's so I've got a soft spot for that, and again, I remember my first real gun that I looked after that was sort of allocated me was a 680, and that was a great gun. But you know, I enjoy shooting them all.
Very good, Karl. Thank you very, very much, and I wish you good luck in the upcoming BASC.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and I hope to see yourselves open soon. Again, let's fingers crossed for Sunday.
So I hope you enjoyed that. As with all elections, please do vote, because a wasted vote, well, you forfeit the right to an opinion. So go and choose your members of the council, and hopefully the people that you choose will implement the changes that you desire. Anyway, regardless of whether you're a BASC member or not, I hope you enjoyed that. Guys, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.